So we're here on Daf Chaf Amid Beis. We're not yet ready for Chaf Aleph, and we're about 20 lines up before the end of the Amud. So counting up from the bottom, about 20 lines up, you'll see the first word in the line is V'nafik, and we're up to Boy Minei Rav Huna, etc. So what we know so far is that if a person sells a stei achuzah, he cannot be poded for the first 2 years. After the 2 years, he can be poded up until the Yovel. If he wasn't poded until the Yovel, then when Yovel comes, the stei achuzah returns to him without any payment whatsoever. So that's a case of selling a stei achuzah. Now we have a case of magdish stei achuzah, and once again he could be poded, but there he could put it immediately and forevermore. However, if the Gizbar sold it to someone else, then when Yovel comes, it's removed from the possession of the buyer, but it doesn't go back to the original seller, the original owner, but rather it's divided up amongst the Kohanim. And that's the Kohanim who are serving at that mishmar. Now, that's as far as stei achuzah. As far as ir mukefes choma, if you sell a house in a walled city, then it can be poded immediately, but only up to 12 months. After a year, he cannot be poded. That's the unique status of a bayis be'ir mukefes choma. So that if the mocher does not get around to redeem his field within 12 months, then it belongs to the Lokeach forevermore. There's no longer a possibility of being poded. And it does go back in Yovel. As opposed to selling a bayis in a ear, l'lo choma, without a choma, then he could be goel immediately and up until the Yovel. If he wasn't goeled, then it'll go back to him with Yovel. Boy minei Rav Huna bar Chinan Rav Sheshes. Here's the question that Rav Huna raised to Rav Sheshes, and we'll soon see Rav Sheshes' answer. Hamocher bayis bebote erichoma nigdal lechatzono eino nigdal lechatzono. We had a pasuk earlier in this daf regarding stei achuzah, and that pasuk was ish ki lo yeh Ish ki lo yiyeh lo goel v'siga yado u'matzah k'dei gulaso. And we also have a very similar pasuk in Batei Choma. Ish ki yimkar bayis beis moshav ir choma v'haisa guulaso atom shnas mimkaro yomim tia gulaso. So we have the word gulaso appears both in stei achuzah and in bayis be'ir mukefes choma, and that gives us a gzeira shava. Ma stei achuzah ein nigelas lechatzoin. This was the sugi that we had earlier. Either you goel the entire sada, or none at all. Is af hainami. Therefore, we should apply the same din by virtue of this gzeira shava to bayis bebote ori choma, and there's no geula lechatzoin. O dilma hechi de goli goli, hechi de lo goli lo goli. So it means that when the Torah in the parsha of stei achuzah says kidei gulaso, the Torah is being mechadish a chiddush that you need to be poded the field in its entire value. Nothing less will do. But that's a big chiddush. And the Torah didn't say anything like that in the case of Batei Choma. And therefore, we have a right to assume that if the Torah didn't say otherwise, then it doesn't have to be a complete, what we call shavi b'shleimus. It could even be a chatzai. And Rav Sheshes responds, Amar le mi v'drashel sh'Rabbi Shimon. I'm going to derive this from Rabbi Shimon. Nishma Shelove v'goel v'gol lechatzoin. Right, there are two dinim that go together like horse and carriage. One is the din of goel lechatzoin. The other is love v'gol. Can you borrow money in order to redeem your field? And it's not your money; it's somebody else's money. And we're going to learn that with regard to Bate Orichoma, like the case of Steachuza, then there's no validity to Love Goel. There's no validity to Goel Lechatzon. The Sanya we learned in the Brisa. And now we're going back to Steachuza. Now again, in Steachuza, we always have to keep in mind we have two different dinim. We have Mocher Steachuza and Magdish Steachuza. Now we're going to discuss Magdish Steachuza. Be'im Ga'ol Yigal. I'll read all Pasuk Asadeh. HaMagdish also. So why the double language Ga'ol Yigal? Melamed Shalove V'Goel V'Goel Lechatzoin. So according to the Tanakama, this brisa, with regard to Magdish Steachuza, his halacha is that he can borrow money to be poded, and he can be pod only half of it. Rabbi Shimon, ma tam. Why would it be that the Torah would be mekil in the case of magdish steachuza and allow these leniencies to be lova v'goel or goel lechatzoin? Okay, so now we're going from Magdish Steachuza back to Mocher Steachuza. The greatness of a Steachuza is that after we hit the Yovel, bingo, the Steachuza reverts gratis, without any payment whatsoever, to its original Mocher. And nevertheless, despite the fact that the Torah gave this yipui koach, which means a positive kind of ability to be goel, this is offset by hura kocho, by a limitation and a restriction that applies to a mocher steachuza. And why is that? Sheina love v'goel goel chatzoy. So maybe what's going on here is that the Torah doesn't want the Afkas Sada Yerushas Avos. The Torah doesn't want this Sada that's originally been given from the time of Yoshua, from father to son, to be removed from the family. So, for example, we find that with Yovel, the Sada goes back to its owner. Original owner. So there's like a balance or an offset here. Since the Torah was liberal and expanded the possibility of Geula with regard to what? With regard to Choser Ole B'Yovel, I shouldn't call it Geula really, but of course, Asada Mirushas Nachla, we don't want to terminate the Yerushas Nachla from Avos, is Magdish Shahura Kocho Shemigia Yovel Lo Nigel Yotze Lakon B'Yovel. So once the Torah was Miyapa Koach in the case of Mocher Steachuza, allowing for Yovel to return the field to its original owner even without payment. So the Torah, to balance that, gave a hura kocho. It's like a trade-off that we're going to make it difficult for you to be goel the sudden. If ain't a love of a goel and ain't a goel lechatzoy. But that's all in the case of what? Of mocher. Now we get to the case of magdish steachuza. Shehura kocho, she'im igia yovel lo nigala. Yotza, Lakonim Yovel. So with regard to Magdish, if there was Yovel and he wasn't pulled to the field before that, then he doesn't get his field back. It goes to the Kohanim. That's called like Cherem Kohanim. Is therefore, since the Torah was Hura Kocho in the case of Magdish, therefore, again, this balancing act, there's going to be a Yipui Koch, Shalova V'Goel V'Gol Chatzoin. I mean, this I understand intuitively. On the one hand, the Torah is going to say, look, buddy, if you're not Poder and goal your field, it's going to end up Nitenis L'Kohanim. But on the other hand, the Torah wants to make it easier for him to be goal the Sada. And therefore, you're allowing for Lov V'Goel V'Gol Chatzoin. Okay, then? Okay, now we get to the original question about Batei Orichoma. And the Gemara says the following. Hi, in this case of Mocher Abayis Batei Orichoma, is it going to be Hura Kocho or is it going to be Miyapa Kocho? Well, guess what? It's Hura Kocho, Shin Mololo Shana Tmivalo Nigala Nechlan. Right? The Torah is not going to give you any more of an option to get your field back in a walled city if you don't take advantage of this possibility being goal. You suddenly within a 12-month period of time. And Nechlat means you'll never get it back. So that's called Hura Kocho. Is therefore the balance to Hura Kocho is going to be Yafe Kocho, Shalom V'Goel V'Gol Chatzoim. And this is the Shita of Rav Sheshes. So the Gemara asks, Eisvei, I'll ask you Kasha. One second. Is there some problem here with the internet? 1 minute. I didn't get to read your message. You don't hear me?